Alright, let's go ahead and start working with some Inkscape. We're going to go ahead and pull up a little sign. We're going to make a little sign that has room numbers. Why? Because, that's a fairly common thing to be able to want to be able to make on a CNC plasma table. So let's go ahead and make one. Room numbers. Alright, so we're going to start off with a square. We're going to go ahead and make this 10 by 12 because we're going to have a bend on one of the corners. So let's do that. I'm going to pull out a shape with my rectangle tool here. Look at that thing. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and go way down over to the pointer tool up here. Selecting transform objects. That's right. You can select it and you can transform it. Now, I see that I'm in inches here, but I do want to double check. We're going to go to File, we're going to go to Document Properties, and we're going to see right here, we have our little display units right here. Oh, take a look at that. Alright, we have inches there, and we have inches there. Isn't that exciting? Then, of course, I have it 24 inches by 24 inches. Cool. I like it. Okay. Let's get back to it. Oh. Cool. We're going to go ahead and exit out of there. Awesome. Now let's make a square here. Let's change this from this weird set of dimensions to, we're going to have that 12 inches wide by 10 inches. Ooh, by 10 inches. There we go. Look at that. 12 by 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and I can change my XY position. This allows me to place where it is on sort of an imaginary grid that the software has. So I'm going to put this at 0, 0, which is going to be at my bottom left-hand corner. And you're going to see when I had put in that 24 by 24, I was referencing this external square here. The machine never cuts that square. All it's doing is using that square as a reference for us to be able to make our pieces. Like I like working in a 2 by 2 or 24 by 24 format, so I can, because I just have a lot of 2 by 2 sheets or scraps left over that I like to work with. So 2 by 2 is what I go for. But right now we're going to go ahead and go 10 inches by 12 inches or 12 inches by 10 inches, however we want to put that. Now in another video, we had downloaded some fonts. I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of those fonts here. I have create and edit objects. Cool. We're going to create some text object here. We're going to actually input that room number. Now, I loaded up Futura up there. Cool. Let's go ahead and put in 120. And it looks like it's italicized. I don't like that. So I'm going to go back over here and there we go. Look at that. All right. Now, by holding Control or the Control button, I can now pull my my text out wide. Alright, cool. Perfect. Let's go ahead and set that there. I'm offsetting it because on this side I'm going to want to put in a little bend here. Let me go ahead and sort of break down what I eventually want to do, which is I want to put a line here, and here. I'm going to put 2 little bolt holes here, and we're going to put one there, one there, one there, and one there, and we may have some time to actually add some text right there. We're just going to make it really interesting. So let's go ahead and go back and make that a reality. Perfect. Over here on the left hand side, we're going to draw something called the Draw Bezier curve. Let's go ahead and draw. I use that to make a lot of my lines because it is point to point. And when I say point to point, I mean you click once and you don't need to continue to click and hold. You can move your mouse around and you can make a line however you want. It's a very simple point-to-point system. It's not a click and drag. I'm going to hit Control because this will allow me to make a straight up and down line here. It's going to auto make that straight for me here. So let's go ahead and pull this all the way down here and let's just click there. Oh, you know what? There we go. There we go. All right. Now you notice I have this little tag that's following me around, and I really only want that line. So I'm going to right-click with my mouse, and it's done. It's just that simple. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and make just one more small line up here, and then I'm going to duplicate that line here. And the way I'm going to duplicate that is I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go Control-C, and then I'm going to go down here and Control-V, which is copy and paste in Windows. If you're working with something that's not a Windows system, then we'll talk later. I believe it's going to be Command, and I don't know the keys off of there because, yeah, strangely enough, I'm largely a PC guy. What do you know? All right. I want to go ahead and make sure that this line that I'm going to be using, that's going to be cut, my bend line as it were, I want to make sure that it's going to go to the right place. I'm just going to go 1.5 inches in. This just aligns everything over 1.5 inches. Hit enter. Cool. Over down here. Ooh, there we go. Come on. Nope, I can't type. 1.5, enter, and my y is going to be 0. Enter. Awesome. So now I have this line all set and done. I see that there's a little bit of an excess gap down here. I'm going to change that to 1.35. Alright, cool. That's a little bit better. There we go. Cool. Now that I know that this is where my bend's going to be, I'm going to go ahead and move my letters here to that point there. Let's go ahead and add a couple more shapes here. We're going to want our bolt holes by holding Control on our keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and click and pull our circle out. We're going to make these into bolt holes here. Alright. Click on my circle there. I'm going to click on my little lock button. The lock button makes sure that when I make it, when I adjust the size of it, it's going to stay the exact same proportion. So we're not going to have an oval-like bolt hole. We're just going to have a circular bolt hole. It's going to be great. Let's go ahead and do this. Lock that down, and we're going to go 0.375 inch bolt hole. Yes. Okay. We're going to pop this. Whoop. And see what I just did there? Yeah. I'm not perfect. Let's go ahead and place a bolt hole right there. We're going to Control-C or copy that and Control-V, paste it. And again, I'm going to align these up here. Now, since I know this point here is 0 on the x-axis, I'm just going to go ahead and make this like, well, let's just go 0.6. Cool. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make this 0.6. Hit enter. Love it. Okay. Let's move on. Now, we're going to go over to this tool here. This is our Edit Paths by Nodes. So, I'll go into a little bit more of an explanation of how that works in a second, but let's use that tool and click on a line. And you're going to notice when I hover over anything that's a vector, it turns red for a moment. Now, what you can also see here, and this is also a vector up here, you see that it has little tiny squares at the top and the bottom of this, little squares there, squares there, squares there, and squares there. All of these little tiny diamonds or squares represents something called nodes, and nodes are sort of the endpoints for every line. A vector has 2 endpoints, and we need to be able to know that, and we need to be able to put that into understand that so that we can manipulate these objects. We can change the way these look based on their nodes, or based on there's a couple of different factors that we can change with a vector that allow us to edit. We're not going to go heavy into that right now. That's for another video. But we're going to know that every time we click on something with a vector editing tool, it's going to show up with all these, it's going to turn red for half a second. It's going to have these squares, diamonds, rectangles. However, if you click on something that's not a vector, you notice this isn't a vector, and that's a bit of an issue. Let's go ahead and turn it into a vector. I click on it, there's no squares, there's no nodes, there's no lines there. All we have are a bunch of these black pixels, these black dots that represent the shape of that letter, or in this case, the number 120. Cool. Let's click on the shape with our pointer tool here. We're going to go path, we're going to go object to path. This is telling it, alright, take this object, turn it to a path. Really works with all the objects in Inkscape. When we start to mess with photos and other things like that, different rules apply, and we're going to use another tool. In this one, we're doing object to path, and it's just that simple. We've clicked on our letters, we said this is what I want to turn into a vector. We go path, object to path, and now with this pointer tool, you can come in and we see all of the different nodes. Now, for visibility's sake, one thing that I really enjoy doing is going down to the left-hand corner, and click on Fill and Stroke. And you're going to notice mine's already pulled up here, but on other screens, it may just pop up. Give it a half a second to pop up, and what we're going to do is click on this. We're going to remove the fill. So it removed sort of kind of that bucket of paint that was in the middle of that shape. And then we're going to stroke it, meaning we just want to stroke the vectors, what the vectors are going to look like. The tricky thing about having that bucket of paint, that fill in the shape, is you don't necessarily see what all the vectors are doing, and it makes it a little bit more complicated to work with. So I recommend doing this with all of your letters or any shape that you have brought in. make sure it doesn't have a fill. And you can do the same process by clicking on any of these shapes. I can click on this shape here, and I can add fill, or I can remove fill. These are things that we do to simplify our life. We've removed the fill, we stroke the vectors so we know what's going on. Cool. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and make a little slot here. The reason we're going to add a slot here, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to make a slot. Why on earth would I make a slot? What's a slot for? Well, let's say we were actually cutting this out of a piece of material. That 0 is going to have a little bit of an issue. The problem is when we go to cut it out, that 0 is going to drop out. The center of that 0 doesn't have anything on the side to hold on to. So what you're going to have is a weird oval hole next to your number 2 and your number 1. Weird, I know it sounds strange, but that's how plasma goes. So I want to make sure that the material in the center here is attached. And so I've made a small vector here, and this program allows us to make a really quick and easy change. I'm going to click on one with my vector editing tool, hold shift, again hold shift, keep holding it, click on the other vector, the shape that you're trying to cut into, and we can see, okay, cool, they're both selected. We have nodes on all of these. We're going to go path and difference. When I say difference, you'll see there's a huge difference. We've actually added a slot there. Cool. All right, let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and just make a bunch of these bolt holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and adjust their position. We're going to go 2.5. All right, and we're going to go 2.5 here as well. 2.5. Cool. Look at us go. And we're going to go 10.5. Awesome. Another one. 10.5. Great. Great, 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 great. Okay, we're going to go 8.5 on this little puppy there. And same thing on here, 8.5. We're just going to go through and adjust our points here. Make sure everything is exactly where we want it to be. Cool, 0.75 there. We're going to go with 0.75 there as well. Awesome. Okay, so we've done all this work to this. Technically, this is a cuttable image. Now, I did say when we were first going into this that we wanted to add some text. I don't want to forget that. Let's make some text here using that same Futura font. We're going to go ahead and put Bob is a fish in this case. Now you can add whatever you want. Bob is a fish is just one of my favorite phrases. I'm going to go and expand that out a little bit. Bob is a fish is at room 120. Bob's a fish at 120. Paging Dr. Bob's fish. There we go. Okay, that's much better. I like that. Cool. Bam. Alright, now what we did before, just like we did with the numbers, this is just an object. If I go here with the vector editing tool, nothing is going to happen down here. I can click on the numbers that we changed earlier, and they are vectors indeed. This isn't, that's an issue. Let's go ahead and fix that. Click on that, go path, object to path. Boom. There we go. There she blows. Alright. Now she's working. Cool. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and remove the fill and add the stroke, just like we did before, and we're going to make a couple of tiny, let's call them, essentially the slotting here. I had a word, but I couldn't think of the word. Now I'm having issues with this width. Look at this. It's just so hard for me to work with this vector, looking at as it does so awkwardly thick, and I'm trying to get exact. I'm going to change my stroke style. So we're going to go up to the top right, change that side to 0.01. Perfect. Okay, now I can actually adjust some things. Beautiful. Alright. We're going to do the same thing as we did before. We click on one, hold shift, click on the other, path, and combine. Difference. But what I want to do is I want to take this Control C, Control V. So I'm going to paste that over here, and I want to paste another one way over here. What? Okay, cool. Because I just want to be able to make this process simpler. Path, difference, same thing. Click on one, hold shift, click on the other, path, difference. Okay, cool. Moving on over. Click on one, hold shift, click on the other, path, difference. Except I'm going to need this for the letter A. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it. Control C, Control V. Look at us go. Look at us go. Alright. 1, hold, shift, 2, path, difference. Look at that. Look at that. Love it, love it, love it. Alright, now I'm going to go to my pointer tool. Click on here. Cool. Now I'm going to click on it again. Now the A is at an angle and I want to do something cool with that. I'm going to turn this like that. Now I'm going to go to make my, let's make it my difference here. I'm going to be able to adjust it. Cool, I want it to go right there. Click, one, hold, other, path, difference. Look at that, now I have a really cool letter A. Okay, maybe it didn't turn out as cool as I hoped it would. Alright. Well, there we go, that's our sign. I'm going to go ahead and square select everything here. Looks good. File, and actually I'm going to go path, combine. And it just makes sure that everything is on the same layer, on the same cuttable layer for what we're going to do with the machine next. But this gets you where you need to go in terms of just working with your vectors to make a sign like this. Now we can always go back and say, you know, okay, I have my layout. I'm going to just take this, delete this, hit delete, put in a new series of numbers right here, and then save it as the next set of numbers. And we can just keep using this template over and over and over again. Remove this, change out how we're going to say this. All of these are options, but that's how we get started.